What's up?
Oh, I'm just compiling all the top sports scores, news, and odds so I can make the very best bets.
Me too. BetOnline.ag.
Join today and receive your 50% welcome bonus at betonline.ag.
All right, let's talk about Terry. So I had this email exchange with a listener a little bit today, Memorial Day, and it's just first off, we referenced an email from before. He was grateful to hear the email read, but he makes a really good point. There was a whole bunch of other stuff about potentially Kendrick Perkins, being an assistant coach and what that would do, and I think that was the email we talked about previously. But we got into a point that I think is really important, which is the way that everybody is viewing Terry Rozier is sort of like the backup plan to Kyrie not signing. And instead, it's like, well, and you and I have talked about this, that maybe that bridge is already burnt anyway, like from the organization standpoint. Even if he had a legitimate reason, et cetera, it's time for him to just move on. Some players just need to do that. He was great off the bench in the 25-minute role, and then happened to escalate successfully in the postseason last year. But whether or not he's truly a starter or not is in question. And so this loyal listener says, really, what do we really need to re-sign Terry? Like, why couldn't we move on with Marcus Smart and Jaylen Brown at the 1-2, which I think makes a lot of sense because this whole logjam at the quote unquote 3 with Brown and Tatum and Hayward. And Hayward was sort of slotted in the 4 position before the injury anyway, but moving Brown to the 2 in the starting lineup. And I know originally that's how this season started, with Smart coming off the bench. But Smart is really, it was the 3-point shooting that makes you kind of go, hey, if he's not going to be the featured guy, he's going to be the facilitator, the grit guy. He's already re-signed to a cap-friendly deal. Like, maybe having him as the starter, like we did see for much of the season after the rough start, is the right thing to do. And if you do that with Kyrie gone and Brown plays the 2, that's quite a defensive duo. It's longer and stronger than, a lot of 1-2s. And Marcus is hitting the 3 and distributing the ball. So that would open up shots for some of these other players who maybe, especially Tatum, who dropped off slightly from probably a lack of shots. Definitely influential. So a couple of thoughts there, but we don't necessarily need to have Terry. We could go to the market and get other bench fillers behind Smart and roll with that starting lineup.
Yeah, no, I think the way that Marcus Smart is the most valuable that he can be is as the team's point guard, right? I think that's, he can do
He's
a lot of
big
things
for a
on the
point
court.
guard, not
He's
just
big,
strong,
right.
but he's got the height too.
Yep, yeah, 6'4". I mean, he's as big as
defended successfully Porzingis. So,
Sure.
and the switchability in that lineup
Right.
is deadly, right? You've
right.
got Smart, Brown, Tatum, Hayward, depending on how you want to play that at the 3-4, probably interchangeably, which is exactly what we mean with the switching. And then Horford at the 5, who could switch with just about anybody but the 1 outside the paint, right? So there you go. You've got that deadly switching. You're a little undersized in the front court, but you're a little oversized and strong in the back court. So I think we heard a lot this season that the struggles in the interior defense had a lot to do with the struggles in, sort of point of attack defense with the guards. And many times they felt like they were letting guys through, and that should have been a point of strength defensively for the team. So there you go. Maybe this would be a helping fix.
Yeah, and I think that if you can maximize what you're getting out of Marcus Smart, who's on a long-term deal, he's going to be here for a while. We know we're going to get out of him. That's probably your best foot forward, and you still could bring Terry back. I mean, I don't like the idea. Part of what goes into this whole summer to me is you don't want to lose value. You don't want to lose assets. You don't want assets walking out the door. And Terry, obviously, Kyrie is its own thing. But Terry is an asset. It'd be buying low if someone buys in on him, and it probably makes a lot of sense for someone to throw an offer sheet Boston's way if they haven't renounced him. But you're buying low on Terry Rozier, so why not invest in him low? I mean, the Celtics effectively did that with Marcus Smart last season. They waited it out, and they ultimately got him for a contract which was, within market. Today Adam Himmelsbach was on with Adam Kaufman on Celtics beat, and he said he thought Terry's looking at a contract somewhere in the neighborhood of what the Celtics would be happy if it was somewhere in the neighborhood of what Smart signed, but Terry was looking for the $20 million range. I don't see that happening. Do you?
No,
See
the problem
anyone say
for
20 million a
Terry.
year?
No, the problem for Terry is he plays, a pretty loaded guard position. It's part of the reason Smart only got 12. That and the fact that if he had waited just one more year, if he had signed a 1-on-1 and shot the three the way he did this year, he might have moved up to 15, 16 million, right? That was really what killed Smart. If he had corrected the 3-point shot, it might have been different. But at the same time, and that's because his defensive prowess and his glue guy prowess and his high motor, that stuff Terry has, but not the same way Smart's recognized. So for everything that Terry can do, it's not necessarily any better. So money wise, I think it's still 12 million because, like you said, there's just a glut of guards. It's a guard league now because the hand checking rules and everything else. So it's a lot easier to get a decent backup guard. The way he gets 20 million is if there's somebody out there that watched him play in the postseason last year that just flat out fell in love with him and said, that's a guy we think is truly a starter given the right opportunity. He had the right opportunity in the postseason and he played well. I'm not sure he's the best passer. He's definitely more in that Russell Westbrook kind of style. And then, so the question is, does he really have the ability to climb the ladder scoring wise the same way that Westbrook can take over a game? And I realize Westbrook's a triple-double machine, but those assists come from, how offensively gifted he is and how much attention he draws, that, if he just finds 10 guys that are open passing out of the double team, and he's always had somebody around to take a little bit of that additional pressure off of him, he's going to get his assists. So he's a better passer than Terry. I'm not trying to demean Westbrook, but my point is if somebody kind of sees that in Terry and they really want to go after him and they fell in love with him, he might get 20, but I think the odds are that he lands at that same deal as Smart.